Okay. Thank you. Welcome to Connecting with Customers via Social Media. It is August 19th, and we are the Beaufort Regional Chamber. We're so happy to be joined by Shawn Hill and Kelly Hill from S&K Signs and Designs. They're going to kick us off. Shawn, over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So my better half couldn't make it with me today, so you got just me, the S of the SK. So what we're not going to talk about is how to post, how to do Instagram stories, or how to do tweets or anything like that. This is just with the assumption that you already know the basics of Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So what I'm going to do is kind of talk about, let me share my screen real quick. So connecting with customers via social media. And a little bit about us. We have been in business for about 6-7 years. We have about 150 social media clients across the states, dealing from small mom and pops to municipalities, the city of Beaufort, the town of Port Royal, the Beaufort Regional Chamber, the Edisto Chamber, as well as some small restaurants. So a little bit of facet of all types of businesses. So connecting with customers via social media, and especially during COVID, has definitely been a challenge for everybody, us as well. So we're going to start with 5 guiding principles for social media marketing and COVID. So this is related to social media and COVID as a whole. So we want to listen and acknowledge. Ignoring COVID-19 or pretending like everything is normal can come across as inauthentic at best and tone deaf at worst. Let your followers know that you're listening and acknowledge our new normal. Even a simple quote, "It feels weird to promote something right now," but can go a long way in showing your followers that you're listening and caring. You definitely don't want to pretend that everything is business as usual and come on in, and it just doesn't show the empathy, and they can sense that. The whole part of being in social media is keeping the word social in the media aspect of it. You want to keep posting. Your followers are spending more time online ever before, and you want to stay connected to them. If you're unable to market or sell your products or services right now, focus on sharing content that aligns with your brand values instead. The copy in your captions is more important than ever before, as it can provide context for the content that you shot weeks ago. So especially if you have an image and there's no masks involved, or you're not practicing the 6 feet social distancing, make sure that's in the caption to let folks know this was prior to the outbreak. And sometimes we repurpose some of the images that we use, or some of the products, or if you had an event, just make sure that's captioned. Posting schedule is really contingent on your audience. There's no set posting time for every business. If you go into Facebook and go to your settings and go to insights, and click on posts, it will show you an arch of posting that when your audience is on, and the best time of day to post. It almost looks like a well, the way it kind of curves. So if for one business, it may be 3 times a day, it may be 1 a day, it may be at 8 o'clock in the morning, it may be at 10 o'clock at night. It's really just dependent on when your audience or your followers are online. Facebook's good like that to kind of track us. Be empathetic. COVID-19 is affecting everyone around the world, but in different ways. Remember to think outside of your own situation, have empathy for your followers, and offer compassion. With this in mind, think twice before posting memes. Memes are funny in their own right and at certain times. You don't have to mention COVID explicitly in all your content, but do take into consideration the tone of your captions and how it can be interpreted by people facing a different reality than you might be in. Remember that some of your followers have lost their jobs, they're caring for a loved one, trying to work at home with a toddler, might be sick themselves. So if, you see some of these influencers posting or whatever, they're out at these house parties, or they're living life on their lavish boat, and while other people are still suffering. Just be empathetic of what's happening around us, and maybe don't flaunt too much if you have that opportunity. Provide organic value. Turn your social media into a valuable resource for your audience. Focus on engagement first instead of driving traffic by providing extra education through videos, carousel posts, or captions instead of constantly asking to swipe up or click the link in your bio if you do that option on Instagram. The swipe up is really just for those that have 10,000 plus followers on Instagram. You can link directly to a website through that. So a little bit more about this. You know, the engagement is what drives our social media. You want to post engaging content, ask questions, ask tips if they have a better recommendation for doing something, if it's a recipe, depending on the type of business that you have. Getting those engagements are huge. And what happens is when a customer X or a possible customer comments on that, then their friends see those posts, and it's just going to start a chain reaction. Sharing is a good way for them to get that engagement, commenting or doing an emoji. Ask for help. If you're struggling, it's okay to lean on your community. That's what it's there for. Get vulnerable in your content, share your story, and clearly communicate how your followers can support your business right now. And remember, we're all in this together. The restaurant group that was started by Shannon, or State Representative Sharon Erickson Smith, that now Ginger at Eat State Play handles, is a great way for businesses to help show their support, or customers to show their support for the businesses. And even businesses are jumping on there and sharing their recipe or what their special is tonight. It's been a good place for people to go for new restaurants, even new restaurants opening up. Maynard's in Port Royal, the ice cream and cafe is opening up. So I jumped in there. Someone had asked a question about ice cream, ironically enough. So that was my opportunity to promote them opening on the 22nd. So feel free to go in there and shout out your favorite restaurant or business. Everybody could use it right now, especially some of those downtown shops are the ones that are a little bit out of the way where there's not a lot of foot traffic. So a little bit about what to post on social media, and 3 topics. We've got open but hustling, closed for now, and then business as unusual. Scenario 1, open but hustling. If your business is open but working hard to survive right now, like many retail stores and restaurants are, you'll be wanting to share content with the goal of getting sales from social media. Every business is different. Restaurants, obviously, you want to show enticing and appealing food. And if you're having a special with 20% off, or if you're doing something for first responders, get that out there. If you're doing a pay it forward campaign, share that with those folks and let them know that. Retail, you could be offering a discount. You can offer them free masks, whatever you have going on internally in your business, in your world. You could get that shared and let everybody know and engage and try to, this is where the engagement comes in. You want people to kind of share it, and it's okay to ask for shares. Sometimes, the typical norm is you don't, but given the situation that we're in now, if it's okay to say, hey, can we, let's get some shares and love on this. We would appreciate it. And even you could even do something where you're offering somebody for the first 5 people that shared this story or shared this post. This is a super stressful and busy time for you, and you're likely leaning on free organic channels like Instagram more than ever before. Here's some ideas. Show up on stories every single day. So typically when you talk about stories, you're talking about Instagram stories, but you can link that to your Facebook business page as long as those 2 are linked together internally. And you can set that up to where you share on Instagram story and it automatically goes to Facebook story. It doesn't have to look perfect, but it's more important to stay top of mind with your followers now more than ever. And obviously top of mind is anytime they think of a business in your world, they want to think of you. Connect your online store to Instagram shopping so you can tag products and posts and stories. Same thing goes for Facebook. You can tag those as well, and you pull the product up and it'll take you directly to your site. Encourage your loyal followers and customers to share about your business on social media. Share user-generated content in both your stories and your feed to thank your followers for shopping or ordering from you during this time. On both platforms, you can search check-ins or locations. And if a client or a customer or somebody tagged you with food or a new dress or a new product that they bought, share that. You can share that in your story. You can share it through an app called InstaShare that automatically links that and puts their information in the bottom of it. So whatever they type in their body will be shared with you as well. We use that a lot. Don't stop trying to sell, but use your captions to provide context, educate your community, ask for support, and communicate gratitude. Video is a great way to share a lot of valuable information in a quick, digestible way. Plus, it performs great on the Explore page, and it doesn't need to be complicated. And we can share some links on the chamber later on this afternoon for some use of video on Instagram. And we know Tidal Creek Haven, I'd seen they were on the list. They did a great job of doing a video today or yesterday. And like I said, it doesn't have to be professional. Everybody's phones shoot in great quality. If you do walk around, you can spend $100 and get a stabilizer for your phone. You can get a small tripod with a phone adapter just to hold it, so you can do a portrait or vertical, horizontal image and video. You don't have to have a proper mic, anything like that. And people appreciate that a little bit more because they understand that you're trying harder, you're doing something new. Not everybody is great at public speaking or being in front of a camera. So if you have somebody in-house that is that person, maybe utilize them to talk to your audience for you. Especially if you have a great employer, someone that stands out, you want to put them at the forefront of your business. Nan Sutton at Lulu Burgess does that extremely well on her Fantastic Fridays. You can schedule your content. You need to make sales in order to keep your business going, and you likely don't have a ton of time to devote to social media. In this case, you'll want to be focused on working smarter, not harder. Now is the time to create efficient workflows, simplify your process, save time and money. Sitting down and scheduling a week's worth of content at once will allow you to spend more time actually running your business. Hootsuite and Sprout Social Media are just two of the platforms that we use. So I listed theirs, but there are others that are out there. And some of them do offer free up into X amount of pages. And if you're just running one single business, that's fine. And you can even schedule within Facebook itself. Content creator, depending on the page, if it's been updated, content creator, you can go in there and create a post, schedule that, and it'll go automatically for you. So scenario 2, if you're partially closed, say you have limited hours or you're working less hours, if you're unable to operate right now and you want to share content with a goal of retention, staying in touch with your existing followers so that you are on top of mind when they are able to use services or book an experience with you again. And I'm not sure if this really fits anybody's scenario here locally. I feel like everybody's pretty much open. Obviously, the hours will be limited. Having hours updated on your Facebook page or Instagram page, if it's applicable, in your Google page is very important, especially now. I'm a big proponent of going out and searching the business before we call and before we go by to make sure they're open, for one, and I'm not wasting my time. So go in there and make those edits. There is an app called My Business, Google My Business, that you can download and link to your Google account, and you can update your hours there. You can actually do posts to your Google listing and add photos from internally and answer reviews and everything like that. Typically, once you do that to get your business verified, Google will send out a postcard to your physical address. So you put those numbers in, and then once you claim that, you have control access. And let me make sure that is called My Business. And it's a blue icon with a graphic of an exterior of a building. Share educational videos, whether that's through your stories, Instagram Live, or Instagram TV. If you wouldn't normally create video content, now's a great time to start learning. And if anybody's interested, we have a list of apps that we currently use that are quick and easy. Some are paid subscriptions, some are not. You can run an Instagram audit, create an on-brand highlight covers, update your bio, and archive any old posts that don't fit your aesthetic. Launch your TikTok. I don't know if anybody's aware of TikTok, but it's definitely a rabbit hole of videos that you can go down that are hilarious, and it all walks of life, from homecoming reunions to animals to entertainment, from videography to photography. So you can learn a lot of tutorials. Even though it does take a while to truly understand the platform and figure out how to make TikToks. But the best part is that you can have 5 followers, create a video, and get 1 million views. Your viewership is not based on how many followers you have. The algorithm on TikTok is ridiculous, and it does not matter how many followers you have. We had one, we were doing a wall install of some graphics, and I think reached 250,000 people, and it was like 8 seconds. Not that it garnered any business, but it helped our brand be more recognizable. Invest in growing your Pinterest account. Pinterest is a search engine, not a social network. I don't know how many times, I know when I search something and there's something that comes up on Pinterest, it takes me right there, which works great. The content that you pin can reliably bring you a ton of traffic every month. Like SEO, it may take a while to reap the rewards, so it'd be beneficial to you in a few months when you need it most. So a great way for Pinterest, if you have clothing or an idea or a product, you pin that, and then someone searches it, they're going to see that, take it to you. They can visit your website and learn more. So there's endless opportunities for Pinterest. Create healthy habits. Now is a great time to establish healthy habits that you can sustain all year, whether that's scheduling a month of content at once or setting aside 30 minutes every day to engage with new people on Instagram and Facebook alike. Engaging can be simply a reply with a high five or a heart emoji, thanking them for coming in, or just expanding on if they had a question or a comment, if they tag somebody else in that business. Especially on Facebook, what we'll do is we'll reply with a funny GIF. It's easily right there. And again, it's just you as your brand and business engaging with the customer in a different way. Obviously, when they come in, you want to talk to them, but this just takes it a little step further. Scenario 3, business as unusual. If your business is in a strong position, or you're not worried because you have a decent amount of cash in the bank, which we all did, you're in a healthy spot to create content with the goal of awareness. You can use a slower time to invest in growing your brand instead of your bottom line. Start new social channels or run an influencer campaign. If you haven't already started a YouTube channel or an Instagram TV series, you should think about doing that now, even if you're just on the planning stages of it. But we would encourage you to buy a ring light and start recording anyway. Ring lights you can pick up on Amazon, I think $100. Lighting is crucial if you're doing videos. You definitely want them to see you and see your emotions. And that can, you could do something at home. You could do daily updates. You could do a vlog. It really just depends. And if you're on location, these are easily to get off of, Amazon or something like that. So any questions, feel free to ask. But we are local. We're located in Port Royal, and we have an office behind the shed in Paris Avenue above Jane Richardson's dance studio. Hopefully that was not too confusing, and everybody got some good information from that.
Shawn, so much to digest there. I love the way you broke it down based on scenario. I think there's a lot of good, helpful hints to take away there. One of our goals with this session was to make sure that not only were we providing some tips and advice, but trying to make those applicable. I think you did a good job of doing that. And our next 2 guests, I think, will help drive that home. We wanted some folks who have also had a lot of success in using social media for their businesses and to drive their enterprise. We're really happy to have Daniella and Shawn with us, 2 different businesses. So before we dive into questions from the audience, let's start with Daniella. Could you tell us just a little bit about your business and where you're at on social media and how those are driving both customers and revenue for your organization? Just kind of give it
sure thing. Yeah.
A quick profile, business profile and social media profile to set the stage.
All right, can do. Hello, everybody. My name is Daniella, and my partner and I own dual brands, sisters, if you will. We own the Beaufort Life and the Hilton Head Life, and we are with Charter One Realty. So we do a lot of business all over the county. I am a huge nerd, and I mean that in the best possible way. I am very favorable to that fact, but in the past, I've built some websites and some apps and things like that. So I'm kind of techie on the back end of things, but I was a very early social media adopter, and so I have grown our strategy and what we do really alongside the evolution of social media itself as an option. And so we favor a few particular platforms. And the reason for that is because that is where our clients are. So in the past, when I've given social media seminars, one of the things that I talk about is being where your clients are. All of them have value, right? All of them have something to give. They're all a little bit different. But for us, with our target demographics, we see the most value on focusing our time and energy, and in a lot of cases money, on a few platforms. And those are, Facebook is number one, right? That's the behemoth that everybody has, which means everybody's got to be on it. Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. Those are the ones that we have the absolute most engagement on. So we really focus there. TikTok is a great platform, just to give a quick little shout out to that. My sister uses it, and she's a bit younger than I am. And so that's a great one for that engagement, as Shawn was mentioning. For us, though, the people on TikTok probably aren't going to be ready for what we need for another 10 years. And so we don't really focus our energies there. But what we do is, I think probably the single best thing that I can share with you, not only from experience, but just knowledge, and I have some background in social media as well, and digital marketing in general. One of the greatest things that I can share with you is the importance of consistency. And Shawn really did touch on this as well, but being consistent, and not only that, but not sort of taking the throw everything on a wall and see what sticks approach. Testing is very important, but testing with a goal and a strategy is even more so. And you don't want to take all the time and the energy and the resources that it takes to create this great content that you want to get to your audience, and then only 3 people see it, right? It's really not worth your time and energy to do that. So you really want to test and record and measure and track and refine as you go along. It's not going to happen overnight. Social media and digital marketing in general, that's a long game. It's not an overnight thing. So you will see that traction begin, and you will see that momentum start to build. Use what works and just repeat that. Once you learn and get over that hump of how do I use this? How do I create this? What's the best kind of content for platform, X versus Y, right? Facebook versus Instagram. Different things track better on different platforms. So once you realize which ones work best for you with the message you're trying to convey, just really duplicate, right? I mean, find the things that work the best and just keep going with that. And you'll see the best engagement with that. And that's certainly been my experience. So the importance of consistency being not only in the messaging, but in the timeline, right? So the idea of planning, taking that time to literally plan out a month of content and using a platform like Sprout Social or something like that, Hootsuite, Buffer, there are a whole bunch of them that are able to let you schedule them out, and they will post at the specified times, whatever they are. And they're all a little bit different how they work, but whichever one works for you, that's the most important thing. I really think that's it. Whatever you're going to use is the one you need to use. It sounds really obvious, but it's absolutely true. If you don't use it, it does not matter if you have it. So it's better to have an active presence on 1 or 2 profiles than have, let's say it's the Beaufort Life page, right? Across 7 different platforms, and we're inactive on all but one of them. That just looks like we're out of business. So you can shoot yourself in the foot and not even realize you're doing it. So that's also very important. So I think those are the most important things that I would share from my experience.
Daniella, thanks. Great advice. I really like the emphasis on the long game, focusing and kind of reiterating what Shawn was talking about on scheduling.
Ian, I just saw a question come through. Can I answer that real quick?
Please.
Hello, my dear Anne. Good to see you. Your hair is getting long. So yes, we do still use Instagram, and I completely forgot that in my lineup. My apologies. Yeah, I'm sorry, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's actually, in my opinion, heavily underutilized. I think by the business community, there is a lot to be gained on LinkedIn, specifically for that reason. It's kind of low-hanging fruit, if you will, but it's also the most professional of the platforms. And I think there's really a push to keep it that way because it's unique to that. So it's not really a Facebook story sort of thing. It's not the personal, here's what I ate today. It's not just another one of those. And I think people have worked really hard to keep that a little bit more professional. So LinkedIn's going to track well for you. LinkedIn also happens to work best during business hours, in my experience, and in the research that I've used, also for that reason, because the people who are utilizing LinkedIn are doing so during the business day, as opposed to other social media channels that are more personal that they use during off hours. So LinkedIn is a big thumbs up for me.
Thanks for
Sorry, Ian.
getting to that question, Daniella.
Yeah.
Shawn, Custer, can you tell us quickly about your business, your social media profile, and how you use that? And, and then maybe a little bit about engagement with customers. You know, we use that phrase a lot, and making a business personal and engaging on social media. I find it to be a lot more difficult in practice than in concept. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on how you personalize your content as you tell us a little bit about your profile on social media.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Ian. Beaufort Chamber of Commerce, all of our fellow members here. Thank you all for joining us. Again, I'm Shawn Custer. I am the Business Development Director for Sign Design in Bluffton. I am a 30-year veteran of the sign, graphics, and marketing industry, and have used social media basically since its inception. And to speak about specific events and how to utilize social media to gain leads, right? We need to get leads to be able to sell more product, your product is. So for me, there's really three instances and ways of engaging and creating leads from your social media platforms, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I use them all. I repeat my content over all the platforms. So I use the exact same message and I share that as many times as I can. For me, it's about building layers. So I like to check in where I'm at, or if I'm dropping a sign off to a client, I check in there. I'm doing this and I tag whoever is involved with me. And that builds more layers and more exposure. I don't really look at likes. I look at impressions more. And you can follow those and see those through your Facebook pages and your Google Analytics. The impressions are what gets my peak. I want 1,200 people to look at my post as opposed to 15 liking it and only, those 15 seeing it. So specifically using social media to garner leads. Facebook is huge for your ask and answer, Bluffton ask and answer. If you're on there and somebody's looking for a product, put your name out there. If you're on there and one of your members, one of your teammates, one of your friends' businesses is out there, put their people out there. Share as many of your contacts in your network as you can, because then they're going to share you. So if you're on Bluffton Ask and Answer and somebody's asking for a real estate agent, there is no way I am not sharing Daniella, right? I mean, I just had to follow that. So that's what I'm talking about. Make sure you share your network as well. Then you can use social media to literally cold call, right? So I see an event. 3 years ago, I sold my business. I had a sign company in Bluffton, 11 years. I sold it off and I had to make moves to create new avenues of business for me. So I looked at the Savannah market and said, this is where we had a pretty good share. I've been in this market 20 years. We have a pretty good share of the sign industry, but I knew I needed to expand out of Bluffton and Hilton Head. And so I looked at the Savannah market, and on social media, I see this post about a Savannah food truck festival. And I said, okay, well, that looks like they're going to need banners, the directional signs. There could be some potential work there. And so I basically messaged them on Facebook and got a message back that, yeah, we really don't have a sign partner. We've been hand making them, and maybe it's something that we can bring and work on. And so I basically cold called the Savannah Food Truck Association. I got an opportunity to set up a meeting with their director. And 5 years later, I'm now on the board. I have produced signs for all of the festivals. Number 7 is happening in October. And from that, I have gained so much work. I've wrapped numerous food trucks in the community. I have built a network in that niche market, and it all came from cold calling from a Facebook event post. And then the third way of engaging is really getting your product out there, right? If I'm making a delivery of signs to Sea Pines, I'm going to take a picture of that. I'm going to post it. I'm going to tag Sea Pines in it. I'm going to tag whoever I'm dealing with. And I'm going to get my product out there onto my timelines, onto as many of those avenues, Twitter, Instagram, all of them. And I want to get my product out there so that when you're in the business, you get a new truck, and you see my posts where we've just wrapped or lettered 3 vehicles for your neighbor or another business in your network, you're going to be more apt likely to give us an opportunity to earn your business. So those are really my 3 key areas for creating leads or business through social media. One is cold calling from social media. The second would be posting your product and getting it out there for people to see. And then 3 is the networking side of it. And so I thank you all for coming out here. We have such a strong business community, and the Beaufort Regional Chamber of Commerce is doing a great job of leading us into this next era of business, having to social distance. And I just can't thank you all enough for giving me the time to get out here and talk to you. Again, Shawn Custer, Sign Design. Need any sign work? Give me a call. Shine on. Thank you.
Shawn, thanks for giving us some practical tips and lived experience building business and expanding business with social media. We had a great question come in that's, I think, really germane to the moment, and that's how you balance the tone and nature of your message, from aggressively going after customers to kind of being sympathetic to COVID concerns. Particularly for a hospitality business, which a lot of businesses in our community obviously have that customer base. Shawn Hill, I know you do a lot of work, as you mentioned here with the CVB as well, and you've done a great job of balancing in your representation of the chamber on social media, kind of the overall tone and concern. There's a broad range of personal feeling out there regards to COVID. So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on how you make the decision about how you reply.
Yeah, it's challenging to say the least, because there's always 2 sides of the spectrum. If we push or promote masks, you're going to get the naysayers. And if you show something with somebody who's not social distancing, then they're going to be, why aren't we social distancing? So we've had a couple conversations with Rob, the president at CVB, and set our messaging prior to all this. When it first started, we let everybody know that we're here when they're ready. So we're not pushing promotion to come here. Obviously, our small businesses need it. We've got to have the revenue. We've got to have the sales in order for the small businesses to stay alive. But from a tourism standpoint, it was kind of, we're here when you're ready. We're not going anywhere. And then we still showcase and highlight some of the attractions and the features and what steps we've made internally to make that trip. If they want to take a day trip, how safe it is. The carriage rides with the masking and the dividers in between it. Maybe how you can't really you can do a better job social distancing on a paddleboard. That's a great way to get out to see the area and to kind of get away a little bit. And everybody else's feed is already inundated with COVID conversation. So if we address it once and then we kind of let it sit, and then we'll address it again when the time's necessary. So we try to, and just feel the audience and see what they react to and what they don't like, and then just kind of make adjustments on that. But we're in constant communication with the folks that we handle the pages for, to make sure our message aligns with their feelings and their message.
Shawn, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to hop in on this little topic here, because I deal with this on a daily basis naturally, because I'm in the field. I'm on the road every day. I'm a salesman. I'm still going to meet businesses face to face. I'm still cold calling. I'm still out there on the streets, and I need to be prepared for whatever my customer is comfortable with. So I'm going up anticipating masks, elbows, fist bumps, whatever I need to be ready to handle whatever my customer and their customers are comfortable with. I can't walk up in a store without masks, without being socially precautious right now, or socially cautious right now, and be able to make a sale comfortable. And you need to treat your social media campaigns that same way, right? You're gonna have the far rights, the far lefts, and we all know that in our little community, we have very less than that, and we're very blessed than that. But you do have to sort of treat it the same way. You have to be prepared to handle social distancing on a meeting by meeting basis, a social post by social post basis. Like Shawn said, hey, if there happens to be a picture of us in an area that may seem like we're not social distancing, okay, we're going to address that. And we're going to let people know, hey, this is what we're doing. This is where we're at. Like, I'm having an event Sunday, a volunteer event. I'm hopefully getting 50 people together. But we're on a mile trail in the woods, and we're going to be able to social distance. So make sure you get all that information across your customers, and it needs to be done literally on a meeting by meeting or impression by impression basis.
Yeah, I concur, and I think it's about expectation setting. I know I feel a lot more confident as a consumer now when I know going in what my expectation should be, because the business I'm interacting with has given me some clear signs. And I agree. I think echoing that on social media is the way to do it. A nagging concern that I always have personally with social media that I'd love all of our panelists to help me address: how to make it not a time black hole. You know, it does have a way of sucking you in. And in fact, we know it's designed to do that. I mean, it preys on us psychologically, which is why it can be such a powerful business tool when harnessed well. It can also be a productivity time suck. We've probably bounced around half a dozen, maybe more platforms that you could conceivably be on, each with a different user profile and different tone and personality type. Plenty of businesses either outsource this or have somebody full-time working on social media. If I'm a small enterprise looking to maximize my impact without completely sucking all my time, what's the best advice? And anybody who wants to start, I'd love to hear from all three of you kind of on your thoughts.
Yeah, I can get us started on this one. I would say that probably the single best thing you can do if you can't actually outsource the work is use a platform that helps you schedule, plan, track, do all those things that we were talking about before. Finding something, as I mentioned, I use something called Sprout Social. It's something that without knowledge of social media going in, it could be a little daunting for you, but there are easier platforms. Hootsuite is kind of the original as far as the sort of post and syndicate to all the different platforms and things like that. And now some of them let you do that internally. Shawn mentioned the ability to, you know, add to your story on Instagram and then linking that in the back end so that it also goes to your story on Facebook automatically. So allowing for those interchanges to be as automated as possible, that's going to be something that's going to save you a lot of time, because the content creation in and of itself, depending on your message and how finely tuned you want it to be, do you do a lot of editing on your photo and video, that kind of thing? That's the one hand, and that's, you can only make that so optimized time-wise. But once you have those pieces created, really the biggest thing that you can do to affect the time you are or not spending on this is to automate it as much as possible. And using a posting platform, a schedule, or something like that will be massively valuable for you.
Yeah, to jump on the back of that, everything that she said is 100% correct. And Hootsuite is kind of the beginning, and that's what we utilize. Sprout Social has a great visual analytic reporting on the back end. So it kind of breaks it down from your demographics on location and age, posting habits, and you can even track some of your competition on the back end and see what they're doing, and just kind of if something they're doing works, you can kind of see that on the back end and learn a little bit more about them. So we do recommend that. And Shawn had mentioned he kind of takes it and takes one message and puts it across all the other platforms. And this is just my personal opinion. We don't, not to take anything away from what Shawn does and what works for him. But my thought process is, if we're having this conversation today, and then I jump over and I see you tomorrow and we have the same conversation, it may be a little redundant. So you can use, maybe that post goes the same tomorrow, but not at the same exact time as it went on Facebook today. So maybe that's an Instagram post tomorrow at 2 o'clock, as opposed to a Facebook, Instagram, and tweet today at the same time. So even though the demographics are a little bit different, the message, tweak it a little bit, maybe switch the images up. But definitely scheduling your posts is the best way to do it if you're running a business and you're busy, if you can't outsource it. And then no different than your emails. Like, we can't sit and check our email every time we get an email. We're not going to be productive. Same thing with social media. So you post it, and then maybe once or twice a day you have a time allocated, unless you have your alerts always going off and something's hot, then you can respond to that then. But we don't recommend, constantly looking at it, because you just can't be productive.
Yeah, I like that scheduled time. Shawn, anything to add?
I mean, really, it's got to be a commitment. Just like you make a commitment to be a chamber member, you make a commitment to be in another business, group. It takes a commitment. You have to do it. You've got to find the time to do it. There's platforms like we've all mentioned, to utilize to help you do it. But if you don't do it, it's not going to happen on its own. So you really have to make it, it's part of your schedule. For me, I'm on the road a lot, so I have some downtime in between appointments where I can jump on, I can make a hit, I can get my information out there. But if you do not commit to doing it, it is going to be invaluable. And the one thing that I think we all, and none of us, I think, mentioned, but the most important thing is you can be crazy successful social media marketing for free without investing a cent. You invest the time and you can reap the rewards.
Yes, indeed. There's always that time cost factor, and I agree. You're not going to get out what you're not putting in. So I have an interesting question in on the chat that I'd like to throw out there for anybody who'd like to respond. It's kind of about the degree of quality and variety of online efforts from other folks we see in the market. Let's avoid using identifying features as we talk about it, but I guess the question might be best framed as who are some of the best players in this market using social media that you observe, and what are some of the features about them that are strong, and is there any other folks outside of this market that you think we ought to look at as people to benchmark?
Well, what a great question. Go ahead, Shawn.
Daniella,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start by saying, we have some really, really amazing content creators in our community. It's right there, guys. And you can learn from, Daniella is, she's great. And she puts out some great content. Beef, Brody, there's a lot of good people. Tactical Baby Gear. Beef is a local kid.
He's a great example.
Started a small business with this idea, and his content is amazing. And these are all people, Fuel on Hilton Head, another amazing local business that has really grown nationally, that started and really works great content. And you have to use other people's content. You have to learn from it. Soak it in, see what they're doing, see what they're posting, see how they're talking to their clients. You have to use it all and absorb it and learn from whoever you can. But we have a lot of great content creators in our area. We're very blessed to be in the community we're in, guys.
Yeah, I would agree. And to go to that, it really is a really good question. It's a very rich question, and it's a very rich answer. And without making any enemies, I would say that the short answer is yes to that question from David. But I would also say that what Shawn just said absolutely rings true. I mean, for being, let's be honest, a relatively small market, which is exactly how we like it, right? For being that, we have such a richness of culture and community and character here. Here being the entire area, the entire Low Country, Beaufort, Bluffton, Hilton Head, Defusky. I work in all of those markets really equally. And so, and I've lived in all of them, save for Defusky one day. But, you know, you definitely do see a divergence, but I don't know that I'd say it's any wider than any other area. I would say that maybe even perhaps there's a higher volume by percentage of great stuff here because we are relatively small. Yeah, I would stand by that assertion for sure. But looking to other larger markets, it's a great way to go. It's a great way to model what you're doing and something that works for you. It's not always going to track the same way. You know, there are certain things that people who are in my very same industry who work with relative to their market, my exact same demographic, there are things they do that just wouldn't work for me and vice versa. And so you sort of, you know, you have to take the R&D method, which is, as we affectionately refer to it, rip off and duplicate, right? So take that and, you know, use it, but use it wisely and judiciously and put your own stamp on it, you know, to make it work for your clientele. But there's definitely a value to be had to get to the second piece of the question, which is, let's see, sort of taking advantage of the data that you capture from interacting with that target audience. You definitely want to track that. You want to make sure you know who those people are, follow up with them. If they're interacting with you, at the very, very, very least, always respond. And I think Shawn touched on this too, but you never want to leave those people completely unresponded to, unread, if you will. It's easy enough to do, but you don't want to do that because it is something that people take personally. If you do not reply to them, you may think, well, you know, they're just commenting. I saw it. They know I saw it. Wrong. You need to make sure that you're responding to those people. And if you can't, have somebody else with admin access to your platform that you trust to respond on your behalf, because it's very important.
Yeah, 100% on the response thing. Everything is personal nowadays, and if God forbid somebody above you gets responded to and you don't, then it's why didn't they respond to mine? They've seen it, and I'm sure people take the same effect when it's their personal Facebook page and a relative commented on Aunt Sue's picture, but she didn't comment on my picture. You know, we all take it very personal. But I replied to David, you know, some of that data can be reused for your future campaigns, and you can target your audience, you know, and not everybody's voice is the same. So if your audience is a Gen Xer or Gen Y or millennial or a boomer, then you have to speak towards them accordingly. So you have to know your audience 100% and how to talk to them. But and any markets that I mean, ours is a little bit different. Our world, we kind of look at what Greenville's doing, South Carolina, Discover SC as a whole. We kind of watch what those guys do on a local basis. I try not to watch what anybody else is doing because I don't want it to steer my mindset. I have a set focus on what we're doing in a mission. And if I see somebody doing this, I'm like, why didn't I do that? And then I don't want to do it as a second of them and it become, you know, something we're following or copying them. Me personally, how we do with the clients that we have, that's just how I don't like to work. So.
You know, we've got a few minutes remaining. I really appreciate all the candor and advice you guys have offered. I've learned a lot. This is something I have to force myself to do, and I'm kind of feeling a little bit inspired after the call. I hope others are too. There's an interesting paradox where we're talking about growing our businesses and representing our businesses on social media, but social media is inherently an individual thing. At least most of the platforms are an individual thing, and we're all individuals executing it. Can you talk just a minute about the line, if it exists, between your personal profile and who you are and your business profile? And if it doesn't exist, how you've rationalized that in your life?
If I may start on that. So when we handle our personal, my SK Sons Designs page, it's probably 90% business and then maybe a 10% related personal. And I limit the personal to if we're taking a little bit of R&R or if we had an achievement outside of the work world, to share that. But we try to share some of the stuff that's going on in town, and we encourage our businesses to keep in contact. So say the pages that we handle, we encourage them to kind of give us insights. If they had something happen internally that they want to share, say if it's a restaurant, they got 100 on a mystery shop or a food audit, something like that. It's a little bit different than the actual business itself. If an employee is celebrating a birthday, if they have a customer of the month or a customer of the week, let's share that. If your daughter or your son or somebody got an A or something like that, it's good to have that line. We don't bring politics. We don't bring religion. Certain things we just don't bring up in social, because in this world, you're no longer, in my opinion, innocent until proven guilty. So if I voice an opinion that somebody doesn't like, that's a potential customer, then therefore it's going to affect my business. They're not going to come to me most likely. They're going to say whatever their opinion based on me, based on this post. So things like that we keep out of our mouth.
Yeah, if I can piggyback on that for just a minute, it's a really good question, and it's one that I've gotten personally a lot. And you can certainly even watch people over the evolution of their social sort of footprint struggle with where that line is for them, and how that evolves over time. But I think that in some degree it depends on your business, because, for example, if I'm running the social media for the Chamber of Commerce, that's going to be 95 to 100% business related, right? You may have some personal things sprinkled in there. Hey, we were out to lunch today, but generally it's also going to have something to do with the business. So it really depends. Real estate's a little bit of an anomaly in this, because real estate has become, it sort of has its own pop culture, if you will, because there are things like HGTV and Fix or Flip and Joanna Gaines, and the reason everybody knows what shiplap is now and grossly overuses it, in my personal opinion. But anyway, it's definitely dependent, I think, to a certain degree on your business. So like for ours, I have a personal page and I have a business page. And so there is some overlap, there is some sharing and some cross-marketing where I think it's appropriate, where I think that it's going to actually benefit the business to do that. But those things, again, you have to take them case by case and say, okay, this is going to make the most sense. There are certain personal posts that are just never going to go on the business page because there's no reason to. It's not appropriate for the business page, and vice versa. And likewise, my personal Facebook page isn't full of listings, right? Because that's not what people want to see. And for it's worth mentioning that that's actually also against Facebook's rules. So that's something that's also good to know, is what are the rules for personal and business different pages for the different platforms, because they actually do have sets of guidelines that you really have to adhere to that are appropriate for either. But I would say that there is a line, and I would also say that that line is going to be dependent on your business. And also I would say I agree with not bringing certain things into the business page, the things that we sort of all know in some way. But at the same time, if authenticity in certain ways to you is important, it may even be part of your brand, then I would let that shine through. And I would just sort of say, okay, if you're going to lose, X person because they're not going to agree with you on this, but it matters to you that people agree with you on that work with you, then go ahead and share it. Just know that you're not going to get all of that business. But if that matters to you, then go ahead and share it. So it's really personalized, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll follow up that by, I do work personal and business pages as well, and there is some overlap sometimes. One thing that I have basically lived or constructed my business model after is being personal, right? Is building relationships. And so part of that is letting people know who I really am, and tending to use those platforms to lift other people up, our community, our friends, my family, myself on a daily basis. So it is a very, very, very delicate balancing act of the personal, what is acceptable on the personal and on the business side. But I think if you don't allow a little bit of that to cross over, I think you do limit some aspect of it, because I get a lot of people that are only following me because they like my pictures and my kayak posts, who can use my business side. And so if I limit only my personal stuff to my business side and only my business side to my personal, vice versa, I do have I am losing an opportunity to gain future business. So it's a very, very delicate balancing act. But again, working personal and business and meshing them when you can, I think is the best approach.
Well, with that, we are approaching the hour, and want to turn everybody back to a productive afternoon. But I'd like to thank again all three of our panelists. I think we could have gone on, probably digging deeper on topics like prospecting and converting a prospect into an account. I think we could have gone on for a long time. There may be a lot more to mine in this topic. And before we wrap, I'd like to invite anybody who's on the line who is interested in exploring either this topic, social media for your business, or other topics a little bit deeper. Drop me a note, ian@beaufortchamber.org. It feels decidedly old-fashioned to promote an email address on a social media call, but if you tweet at me, I probably won't see it for a little while. Shoot me an email, ian@beaufortchamber.org, and give me some ideas, things you'd like to see us work into our programmatic lineup. We're trying to bring these on a frequent basis for you all. Every business is having to adjust right now, and I think one of the best ways to learn is to find good case studies and examples and experts within our own community. I'm really confident that we did that today with Shawn, and Daniella. The three of you, thank you so much. Please follow all of these folks on social media and follow what the Chamber's doing. You'll see a lot about the Shrimp Festival from us coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we hope you'll engage and participate in that. With that, we will close out today. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.